Okay, hey guys, so Paul from Team APS. This is the deck profile of the coin flip deck that we used in our theme duel recently over on the main channel. Be sure to check it out if you haven't already. It was really fun. A lot of people liked it and they wanted to see the deck list, so we're uploading them here. I said in that video, and I'll just sort of say it again here, that these decks are, built for theme duels. So typically we try to make the decks fun, balanced, kind of back and forth, fairly low power decks. We're not trying to like shut out our opponent and not let them play. It's more about just having fun. So these are great to build with friends. Be sure to check out the dice deck profile as well after you check out this one. So they're going to be going up at the same time. Yeah. All right, let's hop into this. So starting off, we have our Barrel Dragon. Both of the decks were designed to have a kind of high-level boss monster, this being the one for the coin flip deck, and then a mid-level boss, and then just a bunch of regular monsters. So Barrel Dragon's an old favorite of most people's. You can target a monster that your opponent controls, toss a coin 3 times, and destroy it if at least 2 of the results are heads. We didn't go with the Desperado Barrel Dragon because we didn't want it, anything like overly powerful, didn't want too much synergy or anything like that. So we try to just keep it to older cards like Barrel Dragon for the most part. And he's good, got pretty good attack strength as well. He's sort of supposed to be the antithesis to Orgoth the Relentless in the dice deck. We've also got Blowback Dragons, so it's similar. Once returned, you can target a card your opponent controls. Note, a card, not just a monster, so that's helpful. Toss a coin 3 times, and if 2 of the results are heads, you get to destroy it. In some ways, it's kind of better than Barrel Dragon since it can target anything, and otherwise it's like the same effect. But it's a little bit weaker, so, that's your level 6. It's supposed to be the equivalent to maximum 6 in the dice deck. Then we've got Twin Barrel Dragon. So when it's summoned, you get to target a card, toss a coin twice. If the result's 2 heads, you destroy it. The odds aren't fantastic on this one, and it only pops when it's summoned, so it's not on once per turn. But this is actually still a pretty useful card, and it's got decent attacking strength. Then there's Jirai Gumo. So Jirai Gumo, when it declares an attack, you have to toss a coin, and if you call it right, then you get to attack normally. But if you call it wrong, then you lose half your life points. Either way, though, this is nice because you do still get to attack, so that's helpful. And he's 2,200. So he's a huge beat stick. You just run the risk of literally having your life points. Take it as you will. It's supposed to be all about a coin flip, so that's what it is. The next card, though, is one that's actually surprisingly strong, and we were kind of afraid it might be too strong in the theme duel, but it didn't end up being too bad. Miss Judge. So she is unique because if an opponent's card effect activates, then before you resolve that effect, you toss a coin twice, and if you get 2 heads, you negate that effect. So this is actually kind of scary because if she, is like working in your favor, then you can negate a lot of stuff. But there are caveats. Of course, it's a hard once per turn, but then also it has to activate on the first thing that your opponent uses. So that means that they can kind of bait it out. And yeah, it's also got pretty high attack points though, 1,800, which, for a theme duel like this one especially, having good attack strength, it comes in handy. Next, there's Gambler of Legend. A card that we didn't include was Sand Gambler, but Sand Gambler is another card that's pretty similar to this. Anyways, though, you can toss a coin 3 times, and if you get 3 heads, you destroy all your opponent's monsters. If you get 2 heads, you discard a card from their hand. If you get only 1 head, you destroy a card you control. If you get 3 tails, then you discard your entire hand. So a nice variety of very risky effects that could backfire easily. The main thing I don't like about Gambler of Legend is just that he doesn't really have very much attack. So you really do want to destroy all your opponent's monsters so he can live, maybe. But it's a fun effect. Next is Abbara Ushioni. So this is just some old card. Most of the coin cards kind of skew on the older side, we found as we were building them, which is fine. They're just a little bit more rudimentary in terms of effect. So Abhara Ushioni, I think this is from Flaming Eternity. You can toss a coin, and if you call it right, you deal 1,000 to your opponent. If you call it wrong, you take 1,000. Pretty plain. It doesn't have the best stats. It'd be nice if it was maybe like a little bit bigger, 16/16, something like that. But it gets by. And then there's Sasuke Samurai number 4. So if it attacks a monster, you can toss a coin. If you call it right, destroy your opponent's monster. This is great, except that this guy is also very small. So if you call the coin toss wrong and he attacks, well, he'll die. Or you can only attack defense position monsters and at least, you know, mitigate the risk a little bit in that way. So he's fun. Really old monster, Creole. So if it gets destroyed by battle, you toss a coin, call it right, you destroy a monster your opponent controls. This is actually nice because it can, you know, sort of float, pop, whatever you want to call it. And it's got decent defense at 1700. So that's nice. Would have been even better if it was like just any time it's destroyed, but I can't ask for much out of these old cards. And then finally, the quintessential Time Wizard. So you get to toss a coin, and if you call it right, you destroy all your opponent's monsters. But if you call it wrong, you destroy all your monsters, including him. And you take damage equal to half the total attack of the destroyed monsters. So the odds aren't really in your favor because rolling or flipping tails just sucks here. But it's fun. Joey used it. We knew we had to include it, but only one because it's not very useful otherwise. Its stats are quite tiny. All right, so getting on the spells, there actually aren't too many spells here. So second coin toss, this is a continuous spell. We used this incorrectly actually in the duel, but basically the way that it works is you can retoss a coin once per turn. If it's a coin effect that involves multiple flips, you redo all of the tosses, which the card text on this old version that we have, which as you can see is already a magic card, not even a spell, is a little bit ambiguous. So yeah, but if you have the updated version, you know, just know that it'll say that. Use the updated version. But this is very helpful. Next, Cup of Ace. You know, heads you draw to, tails your opponent draws to. It's not really favorable because it's either going to be a +1 like a Pot of Greed, or it's going to be like a -3, I guess. So, but you know, it's a coin deck. Have some fun. All right, jeez. Dark Sanctuary. So this is actually a Bakura kind of spirit message card, but we threw it in because if your opponent's monster declares an attack, you can toss a coin, and if the result's hedged, you negate the attack and damage your opponent equal to half the current attack of the opponent's monster. Now this, at first we were running 2 copies of this, but then we went down to just 1 in place of Fairy Box. The main reason being because this doesn't really have a downside. It's either like nothing or it's strictly beneficial, and this deck actually has a way of kind of ramping up on resources once it gets enough of its continuous spells and traps and stuff up in the field. So in the efforts of balance, we just ran 1 of this. But like once you get like this and second coin toss in the field along with like other certain cards, it gets a little bit fishy and overpowered maybe for the theme that we wanted. Then there's Instant Fusion. There's actually the only card in the deck that doesn't involve a coin toss, but it will summon a monster, the Time Wizard of Tomorrow, that does involve a coin toss. So Time Wizard of Tomorrow, like Time Wizard, it can, you know, pop cards in the field. Either way though, it's going to destroy everything. It just changes who takes the damage for it. So if you call it right, your opponent would take the damage, but if you call it wrong, then, you know, you take the damage. A little bit better than Time Wizard, so that's nice. All right, on to the traps. So we've got Lucky Chance. This is actually a pretty cool card. Once per chain, not even once per turn, but once per chain. If a monster effect is activated that tosses a coin, you get to call heads or tails. If your call matches the toss, you get to draw a card immediately after the effect resolves. Pretty neat effect, actually. This can ramp up pretty fast and get you quite a lot of advantage. Like I said, once this deck gets a lot of its face-up cards going, it can get a little bit dangerous. Another face-up card being Proton Blast. So anytime that you toss coins, you get additional effects based on the number of heads. So you can inflict 500 damage to your opponent, you could destroy a card your opponent controls, or you could discard a card from their hand. Or not, the first one's not that bad, but the second 2 effects can be pretty brutal, especially just, again, the nature, like because this deck can kind of ramp up, getting a lot of these cards up on the field can just start to get a little wild, but it's fun if you're playing the deck. And you can also banish this thing from the graveyard, actually, and force a result to be heads on a coin toss, which is pretty handy. Tour of Doom. During your opponent's standby phase, you flip a coin. If you get heads, they can't summon that turn. If you get tails, you can't summon on your next turn. I say summon, but it's normal or flip summon. For the sake of the theme duel, of course, that's not Tour of Doom. For the sake of the theme duel, of course, we only were really normal summoning monsters, so this was a pretty brutal lockout. It doesn't stop special summoning, though. Then there's Fairy Box. So when your opponent's monster declares an attack, you toss a coin. If you call it right, the monster's attack becomes 0. Otherwise, the attack will just go through, and you have to pay 500 life points or destroy this card. So it's a little bit more balanced than Dark Sanctuary in that way. And finally, the Paths of Destiny, which is the sort of quintessential coin toss trap. You roll heads, you gain 2,000 life points. You roll tails, you lose it, and that's for both players. It's a fun way to try to end a game. So, yeah. All right, that's it for the coin toss deck. Lots of fun. Be sure to check out the dice deck and, of course, the video where we play them both against each other. Yeah, hopefully you guys liked it. Drop a thumbs up if you did. And that's going to be it. I'll see you guys in the next one. Pass turn.